Well, hey there, it's Elke.
And Jen, and in this episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast, we're going to talk about how to become the CEO of your Zazzle business.
And what does it mean to be the CEO of your Zazzle business, and why should you actually take on that role? Well, let's start with the why. First of all, Jen and I have made over $1.5 million on Zazzle as a platform that we use to license our designs and make passive income.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in order to do that and to generate that amount of cash, what we needed to do was to actually take the business on as a business rather than just a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. But then when you're running it as a business, then you need some organization and structure. You're going to need someone who's the boss and someone who's the worker, someone who's marketing, someone who's in charge of production. So all of a sudden these roles appear as things that need to be done. And if you were a corporation, then these would be filled by different people. Unfortunately, you as a single solo entrepreneur are actually taking on all of these roles all at once, and you're the only person doing the work. So what happens though is when you're in that position of being your own boss and running your own small business online, you can sometimes forget that there's these other roles that you need to play. And the CEO portion, which is the Chief Executive Officer, requires you to make sure that you set the goals for the corporation or for your company so that you have something to work towards. Then you also need to be, as the CEO, and responsible for keeping everyone accountable. So it seems kind of weird, but you're basically keeping yourself accountable. But by being in that role of this Chief Executive Officer, you now know that that's something that needs to be done and is required, and it'll, like, by being held accountable, you're also being held accountable, if that makes any sense. So that, in addition to being responsible for getting the work done in order to achieve those goals, that's part of the process. And if that requires decision making in terms of what to do and what not to do, and when to do something and how often to do it and how many hours to work, these are all the things that are required at the CEO level. In addition to understanding that in a CEO's job, the company needs to run based on certain core business principles. And that's where we have come up with our 3 pillars, our business framework, which is perceivable, passive, profitable. And not only do we choose businesses that we want to start with these principles in mind, these pillars, but we also use these 3 pillars to run our Zazzle business, and they're very much aligned with the CEO responsibilities. So do you want to talk about the first one, passive or perceivable?
Sure. So perceivable means that you are able to perceive this business as a business and that you want to make it work for you. It's perceivable, which means basically it can be perceived to be seen working for you and being successful. And Zazzle is an amazing platform for this because of all of their setup that they've already done for you as a Zazzle designer. Zazzle in its own is also a business that is running to make money, and they're actually helping you as a Zazzle designer promote your products or create an amazing marketplace where your products can be sold. And so you're working hand in hand with Zazzle, and Zazzle actually does so much of the work for you in terms of creating the product, shipping and handling, customer service, printing, and they have an amazing marketing and production team as well. So this business, in terms of using Zazzle as a platform where you can make money online, is extremely perceivable, and you should be able to see it perceivable as a Zazzle designer as well. Then the second pillar in our 3 pillars is passive, and passive means that the business for you is working for you in a passive way where you're earning income passively, which means that basically you can be doing other things besides working and earn money. Obviously, you have to work hard at the beginning and work smart at the beginning to build your business up to where you want it to be, but in the end it will be working for you passively, where you might be earning income while you're sleeping or while you're on the beach or while you're reading a book or while you're spending time with your family and friends, because Zazzle's platform being print on demand actually, and online as an e-commerce platform, allows customers all around the world to purchase your products no matter what time of day or during which day of the year. And so your business will ultimately become passive for you if you set it up properly using our 3 pillars and also our 5 strategies. Also our 5 strategies, which can be found in the Profit by Design Academy. Now what did you want to say something?
I was just going to add to that.
Okay.
That I like the business model, and that's why I, as a CEO, chose Zazzle, because you work once and you get paid often. Were you going to get to that?
No, actually. So you can expand on that. Actually, yep. But it's an amazing point that I don't want to miss.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because most of the time, whenever we're generating money, we're trading dollars or hours for dollars. Whereas on the Zazzle platform, especially that business framework model, it allows you to work once, create that product, and then it works for you after that. So you do you do the work once, and then the product sells over and over again, if that's the case. And it's so lucrative that we have made products 5 to 6 to 7 years ago that are still generating income for us today.
Yeah.
So that is an incredibly good passive income model.
Thank you for pointing that out. But it's so true. I think that I forgot to say it because it is so ingrained in me.
Yeah,
but I
so
feel like
obvious.
it's normal, right?
Yeah.
It's normal because that's the way that we've built our business up, and that we've used Zazzle obviously throughout these past 13 years when we first started. Zazzle's platform where you create one product and you sell multiple times is actually second nature to me because that's sort of where we've built our business up, and that's how we've been able to become so successful and how we've been able to earn so much money on Zazzle as well, is that we make a certain amount of products, but those products have the potential to be sold literally to thousands of different people. And we have sold one product, but have sold it to thousands of different people or sold thousands of different copies. And Zazzle's platform makes that easily available and an opportunity for us to do so.
Yeah.
And
people always ask us, well, how is this even possible? Because it's just so much, you have to bring your head to that right head space where you can actually perceive that to be possible. And so that's also part of the pillar that it's really important to understand that if you're not making sales on Zazzle right now, maybe you can't perceive that as a possible way of making money, but that just means that you're missing the tools and the training and the mindset that where you need some coaching to help you get to where you need to be in that spot so that you can see that passive income coming in and actually perceive this to be a possible way to make money, so that as a CEO you make that decision that yes, you're going to keep making and doing those things that make you that money so that you can become more and more successful on Zazzle. So what's the third pillar?
The third pillar is profitable, and profitable is a very important pillar in the 3 pillars because obviously you want to build your business up to be a profitable one, and you want to be able to perceive it to be possible and to have it passive and profitable at the same time. And so profitable is very important when creating your business and making sure that the platform and the business that you're creating will be profitable, because that's basically why we're here, right? We want to make money and we want to be profitable and we want our business to work.
So, and some people maybe are not clear on the definition, so let's help you with that. That profitable means take home. That doesn't mean you've made the money and it sounds really awesome, but then you have a whole bunch of expenses and also you can't keep as much of it. So by setting it up as a profitable business, you're putting structure into place that allows you to have the least amount of expenses and the most amount of take home after the entire revenue gets split up. And so that's a great thing for CEOs because they're looking for the bottom line, which is the amount of money that you get to keep after everything's said and done. And preferably with the least amount of hours, which would sort of in a real company, like in a big corporate company where you're paying salaries, would also count for the salary costs. Whereas you, as a sole entrepreneur, keep forgetting that you are actually a valuable employee in addition to being your own boss. And therefore, you need to track your hours and you need to figure out what is your hourly rate? If you're making a certain amount of money and you've actually put in like X number of hours, if you do the math and you realize, wow, I'm getting to pay 20 cents an hour, and then you go, whoa, that's not right.
Yeah.
And so at one point, you as the CEO have to say, how are we going to switch this? How are we going to change this? Do I need training? Do I need to change what I'm doing? Do I need different approaches? Do I need to find new niches? Do I have to rethink my business strategy? And then, but then still have this all aligned with your purpose as to why you even started this company, and make sure that it works for you. So these three pillars all kind of intermix with each other, but in the long run, you're looking for the most amount of money, the least amount of work, and it's aligned with your business. So that's perceivable, passive, profitable.
Mm-hmm. And this episode is to show you or to tell you how to become the CEO of your Zazzle business, but we want to also make sure that you feel comfortable stepping into that role, because sometimes, especially as a Zazzle designer, you've already labeled yourself as just a Zazzle designer, and you're not just a Zazzle designer. Being a Zazzle designer in its own is absolutely amazing, but now you want to take the next step and actually own the CEO that you are meant to be and that you need to be to make sure that your Zazzle business is profitable and that you're actually making money and earning the amount of money that you want to earn. And when we say CEO, some people always resonate that with, being in a big office building, having an office space at the top, being in charge of so many people, and it doesn't actually connect with you because you don't see yourself physically in that role. And so when you think of the word CEO, you almost feel disconnected with it. And we really want you to feel comfortable using that word and actually embracing it and understanding that being a CEO doesn't mean that you have to be a huge a big corporation or have a huge office building up at the top of a skyscraper overlooking all of these people. You can be sitting at your desk on your Zazzle store and being in your own desk at your own home and still be the CEO of your own company. And once you actually envision yourself doing that and sitting in that role and owning that role, will you finally feel comfortable to step into that role and start making the decisions that a CEO would do for their Zazzle business.
Mm-hmm. And some of those decisions are very much tied to obviously the profitability and to the productivity, which is the workers, or in this case, the products working for you, and your time that you've spent making those products so that you can have that bottom line come up and you're not making 20 cents an hour. Mm-hmm. You're making 20 to 30 to 100 to even $1,000 an hour because your product has been so profitable. So think of it that way, in that you've made the product once, maybe it took you an hour to make, and then maybe like 10 minutes to promote. But in any case, you're maybe looking at about an hour for a product at most, even from like scratch to publishing it and to promoting it. And at that point, then now you're going to leverage that product as much as possible to squeeze the most money out of it, in a sense. And in that case, you need to be that CEO. You need to say, okay, how is that product doing? Is it working for me? Is it working most effectively? Where else could I make it work even harder? That ties in with promotion. Could you have better titles and tags so that it would go in front of more eyeballs of, mm-hmm. That means customer eyeballs, where the customer will say, wow, this is awesome, I want to buy it. Could you do more in terms of expanding your brand so that people come to you specifically just because you are who you are, or your design house is who you are, and that's attracting people. And so therefore, even if it's not the product itself that you're promoting, it could be your brand that's bringing traffic in, and that again creates demand and creates the ability for you to sell more product and therefore make more money with less effort. And so being the CEO and checking every month to make sure that you're on track with your goals and that you're as productive as you can be, and that you are reaching those goals, and that those goals are not actually that outrageous that you can physically make them and have them happen for you. These are all the roles of the CEO. And sometimes we forget those and don't even want to touch those, mm-hmm. because first of all, we'd feel like we're being like we're going to actually take ownership. And what happens if we fail, mm-hmm. right? So that's where the mindset work comes in, because in all honesty, every one of us, including you watching, is doing all of this to get that money to come in from your Zazzle account in order for you to do the things that you want to do, your dream life. Whether that's owning a Ferrari or just hanging out with your family and friends and not having to work and be off whenever you feel like it. So whether it's time, location, or money, financial freedom, all of these things accompany, they basically define what your dream life is. But if you are treating this as a hobby rather than a business, and you're not taking on that CEO role with all those things about accountability, goal setting, productivity, and things that require the smooth running of a business with the desired outcome, then unfortunately you're never going to get to that dream goal, and you're going to get frustrated and maybe even give up. Whereas if all it took was for you to get some training, get some coaching, and then you could easily fall into that CEO role, in addition to you enjoying the fact that you're a creative that's working online and making money, then all of a sudden the miracles start to happen and you start to reach those 5 and 6 figure a year goals. And that's why we're so passionate about teaching you how to become that CEO, how to embrace that business side of the whole process, so that you can see those results rather than thinking, well, you're not good enough as an artist, or you're not good enough as a photographer, or there's something wrong with Zazzle, no one makes money on Zazzle. Those are all myths and not true. What's true is that the CEO role has to be taken on by you. You have to embrace it. And if you feel uncomfortable doing that, then here's some guidelines that we've already discussed. But then if you need help or training, then you also know that there's places where you can get that, including our teaching and our master classes and our coaching. And we're actually sitting, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're sitting behind our or in front of our banner, because right at this point in time, we are doing a creative CEO mastermind, and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to embrace, and a lot to get in the right mindset and headspace to do the work that's required to be an effective CEO. But boy, does it ever pay off after you take that role on and you realize it's actually not that hard. Just need the tools and the help to get you going.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. And I think that every Zazzle designer should embrace their inner CEO and become the CEO that you're meant to be. And truly, every single one of you is able to do that if you have your mindset in the right place, that you follow the 3 pillars, and then you also step up to the plate and you realize that you really do want to become the CEO of your Zazzle business, and you will work it out and you will figure out how you want to get there, whether that be with our help and our teachings, and if you join us in one of our masterminds, or if you decide to take steps on your own. But either way, you are able to achieve your dream life if you put the work in and you work smarter and not harder. And we would love to help you get you to where you want to be.
Yes, and embrace your inner CEO.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Take care.